it, like a card. Because if you are availing yourself to the availability that the universe is constantly speaking to you in the forms of people it brings into your life, in the forms of license plates that pass you on the street, you know what I mean? To the symbology of a bird flying in front of your car and guiding your way, which was a recent experience Jill had. Like if you open yourself up to the availability of that, which is truly living at one with our environment, right? Living in natural law, living in natural order. To deny those things is sacrilegious in the sense of like really connecting to the living world. So it seems obvious when we start to look at the world from that perspective that we can gain an understanding better on what to do sometimes, and sometimes we just can't. So I like to pull cards, is my reason for telling you that whole story. And I pulled a card recently just seeking guidance on like something that was really disturbing me and troubling me. And the card said to me, when we are thirsty, we never reach for an empty glass, we reach for a full glass of water to drink from. And I was like, oh my God, duh, right? Like if I could look at, like if I'm just thirsty and there's 2 glasses of water in front of me, one's empty, one's full, the most aligned direction to go is this meets my needs best, I'm going to grab that. But how often in life, outside of that very obvious example, do we not do that? Do we instead have a strong need within ourselves, have a strong desire, almost through a means through which to create health and sustainability for yourself? We reach to that which acts in the opposite direction, which says, this is actually not going to be good for me, but I'm choosing it anyway. How often we do that in life? And what is the motivator of that? Right? The motivator of that is confusion. The motivator of that is poor programming, if you want to look at it that way, right? Setting neural pathways in a way that is not the most efficient or effective to reaching optimum health. And if we're talking about optimum health in all facets, love, relationship, career, right? Experience of not only material abundance, but also spiritual wealth, right? A holistic experience of health. Why do we then choose in certain ways to do that which is in the opposite interest? Maybe things like our eating habits, maybe things like smoking cigarettes, right? Simple stuff like that. Toxic relationships, things that don't bring you joy, happiness, pleasure, sustainability, but yet we do it. And so as I was mentioning, it's probably a relation of confusion, bad programming, right? Because if you grew up in an environment where it was unsafe or there was some level of abuse, you would go outside of normal means through which to try and maintain and experience safety, right? Things would be a little bit illogical and you'd have to take some circumventions. So you create weird patterning. So how do we then deprogram and remind ourselves how to really live in harmony with life, live in harmony with the universe, live in harmony with each other? And that all comes from this ability to see clearly, to remove the confusion about what is in one's best interest. And oftentimes the thing that's most likely to cause us a deviation from honest operation, from the operation in alignment with our truth and what is best for us in all ways, most godly, is, I lost my train of thought. Damn it. It'll come right back. I hate it when that happens. When I'm just pulling in, sometimes it's like, bye, and you're like, shit. Sorry, guys. This is a good one to record for my own edification. Please, can someone pick me up to where I was? Anyone have it?
It was like the culminating thing of like what's the best?
Oh yes, thank you, Jill. Thank you. Yes, she was listening. Thank you. So yeah, my freaking conclusion, my freaking point. Oh my God, you guys. So it's fear. It's fear. It's fear is the thing that causes us to go against what is righteous and honest and true in our best own interest. Because sometimes that is the scariest thing, and it feels like vulnerability. It feels like creating a rawness or a lack of support. Because if we can control our environment, if we can manufacture and manipulate, it makes us feel like we're creating some sort of stability. But in reality is we're just competing with what's going to happen anyway, and we create a lot of tension for ourselves. And this is all based on fear and a desire to control. And so when we tap into this type of work, when we connect to macrocosmic consciousness, whether it's through Vedic astrology, whether it's through scientific exploration, or getting into a deeper essence within your own spirituality, which rises above this, right? We drop the fear because we are less associated with our physical survival, and we're more understanding of the larger governing energy of consciousness that is directing us. And will continue to direct us, right? Even after we drop these bodies, whatever we are after that, which is something, you can connect to it. You just can't grasp it in the context of which we've only been able to understand, which is material understanding. Material or lack of material. But the thing about lack of material is we tend to think it lacks value. And it doesn't. There's so much essence in the non-material. And that's what we're getting into contact with here. And so when we can rise ourselves up through meditation, through yoga, through chanting, to a space beyond that desire to control and to manipulate based on fear, we can start to really be in harmony with the universe. And then you start to see the eagle flying in front of your car, Jill, or whatever that was that you told me about last week, and you start to see that as, this is God directing me. This is God sending me a message of support. I don't need to use my mind and my manipulations to get grounding and understanding that I'm doing the right thing, that I'm doing the best thing. All I can do is avail myself to a higher experience, and oftentimes that higher experience will communicate with you through the natural world. That is God living all around us. It's really beautiful. And when we can evolve beyond the fear that inevitably settles in based on all of the things that stimulate us into being preoccupied with the drama, when we can transcend that more often through revisiting this place together in community, whether it's online or in person, reaffirming that consciousness in our minds, in our hearts, through interaction with each other, through saying, oh yeah, but I need to look at this differently. And there was guidance. I got guidance from the universe. And the other person, yeah, I've had that happen before too. You start to reaffirm in community the understanding of that lens. Then it starts to be adopted into the collective. In the rate that the universe is evolving, right? And I think a lot of us grasp to that wanting to have that happen more quickly. Because the universe is falling apart. We're killing the planet. How much to a degree, I know, and I'm not minimizing the amount of pollution and lack of compassion and lack of understanding and lack of connection to the natural world that the general population has, and the unconscious way it's been treated. There is an arrogance also in humankind that thinks that we can destroy something so big and profound. We can injure the planet, we can harm the planet, we can take it out of balance. And to the degree that we take it out of balance, it may ultimately destroy us because it's no longer sustainable for life, and we may cause that. But the larger experience of planet Earth is beyond our ability to even comprehend as far as what its potential in evolution is. So also we have to soften our own egos in regard to that. And when we do, we become more humbled of its power, and as a result, have more respect for it. It's interesting how that happens, right? It's interesting how once something humbles you and you recognize your both your power in relation to it, but also your I don't want to say weakness, but insignificance in relation to it. It humbles you, and then there's a reverence that's held that I think is necessary in order to really take care of the planet. We're taking care of the planet mostly because we're afraid of what we might do to ourselves and each other. It's fear-based. It needs to include love. It needs to include reverence. This is where reconnecting with the natural world as a message sender, without the message sender's help, we're not going to be able to understand how to navigate. So there is a mutuality there that we come to learn. So existing in that space brings us an ability to create a middle ground. And we start to notice that we haven't been living for the high points and being terrified of the low points. But think of how an addictive behavior pattern is. It's constantly seeking stimulation. It's constantly seeking a comforting, validation. Everything's okay. And that can be in the form of some sort of substance. That can be in the form of a relationship. That can be in the form of shopping. It's because we're seeking some sort of high point to keep us out of the low point. When we can find an understanding of the universe in the middle ground, in the Tao, in the middle way, we start to see both of them as a communication of the divine. Not just the good stuff, I'm blessed, yes. And the opposite being, I'm cursed. No, it's just the universe letting me know how I need to rebalance, where I'm out of balance, how to reestablish harmony